Welcome to Legacy Therapy, the podcast that will teach you, in bite-sized chunks, how to leave a stress-free legacy so loved ones can focus on people, not paperwork, when you become ill or pass away. Here is your host and financial advocate, Stacy Golden-Lisnock.
Hello, and welcome to the 10th episode of Legacy Therapy, Planning Techniques for a Stress-Free Legacy. And today I am happy to introduce our guest, Thomesa Lydon. She's a best-selling author of Smart Living for Seniors, How to Make the Best of the Rest. She's a concierge realtor with RE/MAX Excalibur, CEO of Lydon Senior Pathways, and an award-winning speaker on senior real estate, relocation, and resizing. She has spoken at NASDAQ, Harvard Club of Boston, Carnegie Hall, Mercedes-Benz, West Point, and she's been on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox TV News and other talk shows. As a real estate specialist for seniors and resize expert, she provides comprehensive one-stop relocation planning, move management, and real estate services for seniors 55 and over, in the process of smart sizing to enjoy the next living chapter of life. Wow, you've got quite the thing going on there. And I know 55 and over is the place to be today, because from the statistics that I've read, 10,000 people are turning 65 every single day. So tell me, what brought you into the senior market?
Well, thanks, Stacy. And I tell you, I go around speaking anywhere and everywhere that I can in some of the great places that I have spoken. It's to get the word out and help seniors and their families to make the best of the rest. It's a different cycle in life. I always refer to it as the next living chapter of life, and you really do need to be prepared for that. So thank you for inviting me here today to discuss that further. And I had my own experience. It was my family experience that put me in the driver's seat for figuring out that so many of us baby boomers and our parents need to be educated a little bit more on what's going to happen, how's it going to take place, and what do we need to do to prepare for that chapter of life.
That is such a needed service, because I know for a lot of people that I've run into, it's like it just happens, and a lot of them are shocked at the difference, because you're used to living your life a certain kind of way, and you're not used to living your life as a senior until you get there. So what kinds of things have you seen that have really forced the hand of a lot of people to actually make these types of moves, and then you're able to help them, and you've got a lot of resources in place? So that's something I want to hear about too.
Well, when I was hanging around the pool having margaritas in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, I got that emergency call from my sister saying, "You have got to get to mom and dad right now." And I'm like, "What's wrong? Why?" And she said, "Daddy's in the hospital. Mama's home alone." Well, my mama could not be home alone. Mama had Alzheimer's. Oh. And that was the last thing that could be happening in our family. Yet the writing had been on the wall for many, many, many years. My dad had heart disease, lung disease, kidney disease, and he was diabetic. And
Isn't
my mom,
that is amazing to me. Sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
I have had this story over and over where people are sick. In fact, just one real quick one. One of my clients recently, her husband was on dialysis, and he was on for quite a long time, and things were starting to not go very well. And at the end, when he did pass away, because they didn't do the planning that they should have done, she says, "I didn't think he was going to die. I just didn't think he was." And it's like, how long can you live on a machine? So what you're saying is really, if it could be a wake-up call to anybody listening, when someone's health starts to fail, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to die tomorrow, but it also doesn't mean they're going to live another 10 years or 15 years.
It's time to plan.
It's time to plan. Thank you. And I'm glad you have it. She has it on a poster board. If anybody there, you're probably all just listening on a podcast, but yes, plan. That would be the thing. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's exactly it, because we all feel like it could happen to someone else, but never to us. Mm-hmm. And I'm 67, so I'm baby boomer, and
Mhm.
my parents were of that greatest generation. They were independent. They took care of themselves. And when their kids, such as me, start talking about making plans for the future and wills and powers of attorney, they're like, no, 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 we don't need to talk about that. We got this covered. And with all the health issues that my dad had, my mom was his caregiver. And once she was healthy as a horse, but once her diagnosis came in with Alzheimer's, it was so time to make the time to talk and plan for what and how it's going to look in the future. But I have discovered that so many people just ignore this, sweep it under the carpet, and they wait till the crisis. And that's the worst time to make plans to live the best way that you can. And in my book, I coined the phrase 60-40 rule. When parents are in their 60s and the kids are in their 40s, it is time to let the conversations begin, because that is a time when you're not really thinking that, hey, I could, die next week, tomorrow, I'm getting older. You're still 60. That's a young age these days.
I resemble that.
Longer. Yeah. I resemble it too. And I'm proud of it. I consider myself a recycled teenager.
Yeah.
But we all know that we are not guaranteed tomorrow. My brother was 27 years old when he went to sleep one night and did not wake up the next day.
Wow.
Healthy kid, just his heart stopped and he was gone. Now, he had a will, never had it notarized. For his 27-year-old to handwrite out a will, he had two little kids, 2 and 4 years old, and he just felt compelled to write out what his last will and testament was, but he never had it notarized. And his whole world went into probate after his passing. And that was the saddest thing to watch my parents have to go through when they just lost a child, their baby. He was the baby in the family, and it was sad. And you don't think of that at a young age, but it happens all the time. But because we get to enjoy getting older, let's not forget to take care of ourselves plus our family. The worst thing you can leave your family is the problem of getting powers of attorney after the fact, sorting through your stuff, figuring out what goes where, who gets what, and keeping peace in the family. Those items are so important to think about now, whether we really want to or not. It makes the biggest difference in the world. The simplest plan can make all the difference in the world for any planning in advance, but especially if you're going to have a late in life move. That situation in my family, without a plan, a late in life move, put my dad in the grave, and it landed my mom in memory care. Now, if you're not familiar with memory care, it's a place where they store the live bodies when they no longer remember that they're your mommy or your daddy. And it's so sad to know that the things that she may have wanted to have taken place for her legacy didn't happen because we had to figure it out. They didn't have plans in place. They didn't have the paperwork. I always tell people, get your facts, your figures, and your documents in place before you need them. It's so important, and it's so helpful to those you leave behind. And we never like to talk about being left behind or that it's over or that we've passed on. But if you don't think about that in the living years, the dying years are going to be brutal.
Right. Brutal for the people left behind to handle everything. So
absolutely so.
And that's your experiences led you to your career, which is helping people to not have these things happen. And a move, when you were saying it kind of was the end of your dad, because moves are very, very stressful, right? I've seen that list before. So there's a list, and moving is way up there. And I would assume that the older you are, the harder it is on somebody. And then the longer you've lived in a home, all the stuff that you have is overwhelming to try to think about. Well, you want all of it, or you would have not had it all, I would assume. But you have to pare down. And my mom, God bless her, she did move. She moved to a leisure world type of a community. And so she pared down quite a bit. We were very thankful. The garage, just the garage at the house that I grew up in was like something that I wouldn't have loved having to tackle because it was ridiculous. But so when you're telling, or you're helping people to make that move in their elder years, what are some of the tips and techniques that you use to make it less stressful so that they don't have to be like your dad and have it be their, the beginning of the end kind of say? Yeah.
The best thing to, again, plan for it. But as you start getting older and your nest is emptying, sort through things. Do it one room at a time, one step at a time, one closet at a time, the least emotional room at a time, and work through what you want to leave for a child or the different children in your family. Label it, itemize it, ledger it, list it, however you'd want to do it, or actually give it to them. So you're not storing it. They're not waiting on getting it. And key here is so many of our parents are hanging on to things that they think we want. And I always talk to my clients and say, hey, I just want to alert you. I don't want to inform you. I want to alert you to the fact that this stuff you're hanging on to for your children, they may not even want. And they're like, oh no, my daughter wanted my dining room set. My other daughter wanted the china. And they go on and talking about it because that's what years past, that was the story. And maybe they still feel that way. But the kids have moved on and don't want it, especially if you have younger kids, your older parents and younger kids. They really don't want anything. So you're storing stuff, having a larger home that's just a storage facility, more or less. You're paying property taxes, you're cooling and heating it, you are maintaining it. And those large, high maintenance homes can consume your time, effort, and energy like no other, plus cost you. So it's important to pare down early, find out what your children want, give gifts away to people to enjoy things that you've enjoyed and watch them enjoy it while you're still around to watch that. So if you're tuned into most of our senior adults are, maybe 70 and older type age bracket, they have a lot of items. Their story is in some of the items and the stuff that they have. But the story items, capture your essence and move that with you. Keep that, maintain it, but don't be paralyzed because you have too much stuff to sort through. So you choose not to move. And then time goes on, you keep stockpiling or you keep staying in the space and never sorting through it. And you're leaving that for your children to do. And that hurts my soul because that was one of the saddest things for me to have to do, to decide what my parents needed to throw away, had to give away, or what they could keep. And it's not my job or my privilege to chuck their stuff or pick what they can save. Do it for yourself, for your future, and for your kids. But the number one tip would be start sooner than later. Look at things in your home. If you can't answer yes to one of these questions, does it have value? Does it have purpose? Or does it bring me joy? If you can't answer yes to one of those, then give it away, throw it away, trash it, whatever it needs, sell it, whatever. But those three things are important to paring down without having as much emotional strain as you think you'll have if you can answer those questions. And you can make some games out of it. You can, every day for 30 days, you can pick day one, you throw away one thing. Day two, you throw away two things. Day three, you throw away three things. And it gets to be a little bit fun going, oh, what can I throw away today? But when you get up to the double digits, you're throwing away 20 things a day or 21 things a day.
Wait, do paper clips count? I can see that game going on. I got some toothpicks here.
It might get down to that when you get in those double digits, but I tell you, in 30 days, you can unload so much stuff that has been weighing you down. Yeah. And it's freeing. It's really independence and freedom that our seniors and our, like our parents, my parents wanted just their freedom and independence, but they kept themselves weighed down with their stuff. And I just understand how important that is. But I also want to impress upon those people that are sitting in that stuff to realize how detrimental it is to that next chapter of life. And you can free yourself up sooner than later and enjoy everything about what's coming next. Get in a smaller, more manageable space. Maybe it's safer in the environment as far as surfaces. Maybe you don't have stairs. Maybe you do have stairs. Maybe you have some uneven surfaces. That creates a falling hazard that is really detrimental to our seniors. The number one accident for seniors is falls. And 30 million seniors fall a year, and 8 million of those die from those falls. So it's important to look around, see your space, and start processing it sooner than later.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. And so part of what you talked about a little earlier was getting all of your important documents and things together so that when it is the time, doesn't necessarily mean that you've passed, but you could become incapacitated. You could get the Alzheimer's, dementia. You can be like basically unreliable for a source of information at that point because you don't really know. And so that leaves your children or whomever would be stepping in at a real disadvantage. And that causes them stress and heartache and expense and, the time. You're really taking somebody else's life over at that point because you don't have forever to get those things done, right? Like if somebody dies and you have to clean out their home, you can't, it's not like it's going to be a year-long project, right? Because there's other things that are hinging on you getting the home cleaned out. So I have a friend that her mother passed away. And so she no longer could afford to live. She was living with her mom. She no longer could afford to live in the place. And so she had to get out. She had I don't even know if she had a whole month, but she had to move. So she didn't want to get rid of any of her mom's stuff. This goes to the story you were talking about. They put it in storage. She's been paying for storage. She has 3 units. Now, mind you, it's costing her close to $1,000 a month for these 3 units. And her total income every month is about $1,000 a month. So she's having to live on people's couches and kind of move from home to home. And she's having trouble getting rid of stuff. She finally pared it down so that she had 2 storage units. And then, she had $300 a month to live on. But it's funny what we do in that situation if you can't part with the items, because you, like you say, it's a part of your parents, it's a part of your mom, it's a part of your dad, you don't know. And then you have the other set that just throw everything away, the baby with the bathwater, and some very valuable things get, that's why people, go to Goodwill and Salvation Army and just scour around, because you can find gems of things in people's pockets and old pocketbooks and things that just get thrown away. So
there is a happy medium between throwing out the baby in the water and keeping everything. And I joke about, but it's not really a joke. It gets serious. I joke about when the families are starting to build their families and grow their families. They're getting bigger homes and they start packing every closet. I was like, oh, wow, I have this walk-in closet I didn't have before. Let's store more of that stuff in it. And then they start bulging at the seams. So what do? Is they run down the street and they buy one of those metal boxes and they put a padlock on it and they have a new storage space. And then that one's full and they get another one. So my folks had a 3,800 square foot home with 2 of them sitting there, living in it, maintaining it, consumed a lot of energy for sure. And they had storage units. And it was beside me to figure out how and when they would ever go to the storage unit, much less use anything in a storage unit, but they're paying from fixed incomes. They're paying for these units to store this stuff that is sadly going to be chucked. And more than likely. Now, I had a client one time and it broke my heart. This gentleman, we were moving him, but he got sick in the middle of the move. He was thinking ahead a little bit, but he was just a little bit late. We were in the process of moving him into a community and going through his stuff. And then he passed before he could get moved in. So a daughter came from out of town and she said, I'll process everything. We sold the condominium that he lived in. And when on closing day, I had been talking to her regularly and going over to the place and going, who's going to be moving this and who's buying that and where's this getting discarded? And I was going to help her do that. She's like, I got it under control. Well, closing day, I go over to the property to give the keys to the new people and everything is still in that home. And I had just been in there the day before and she said, it's all being loaded out tonight. So, okay, I trust that. It wasn't. I called her back in and we literally hauled stuff to the dumpster and it broke my heart because this was stuff that had an importance to this guy, but suddenly his life was meaningless and his stuff had no meaning. She didn't want any of it. But it's just sad to think that you can't just, save some things. But going through your stuff first and early is so important because it hurts my heart when things get chucked, when they really can provide purpose, service, or sentimental value to someone else. So think about those things ahead of time, whether you really want to or not, because it's so important.
Yeah.
Organize your stuff, organize your important papers. Keep those aside. And make sure, I always tell people, just put things on a ledger, write down if that's, if the easiest thing to do is write down who gets what, where these personal documents are, and always, always, always make sure someone has your passwords to all of these things now that are password protected. I still get a LinkedIn request or on LinkedIn, it's like people you should connect to. I still get my dad and he's been gone for 7 years. I can't get in there. Maybe there's a means and a way. And if anybody knows it, please let me know. But I don't know how to get in there and eliminate or close the account.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart when I get that email. It says, hey, here's somebody you should connect to. I was like, I'd love to, I'd
right.
love to.
Yeah. So that brings us to, I can tell you just a little bit about what I've got going on with this course, which is Got It Together Emergency Info File, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's that getting all those important documents organized, making sure that they're actually up to date, because that's a whole nother topic.
Indeed it is.
Yeah. As some things happen, unintended consequences can be brutal. And so making sure that it's all together. The password thing is one module is devoted to your digital life. And there are things that you can do. You can go into each one of your accounts. And I think they have these things. It's a legacy setting. So you can assign somebody this legacy permission. And so if you were to pass away, they can go in and they can close your account out. They can put a posting in there that says, this is so-and-so, and I'm just here to tell you that so-and-so passed away on this date, and here's the memorial service information or whatever. And then you can go in later and close out the account altogether. But there's so many accounts of people that aren't even alive. It's just crazy. It really is crazy. Right. And then you've got the other issue of fraud on dead people, right? Because that happens all the time too. So you need to protect the person's the identity even after they've passed away. So I mean, you've already heard those stories where people go to the graveyard and they find people's names. They don't have to do that anymore because it's all a digital age. So you don't have to physically go to see a gravestone to get somebody's identity, to make yourself them. But so anybody that is interested, and I'm the reason I have this podcast, Legacy Therapy, is to educate people as to what the consequences are for those that are still here when somebody who has passed or become incapacitated can no longer do these things for themselves. So it's like the greatest gift that you can give your kids. You always want to do the best for them. And so by not doing this in advance, you're doing a huge disservice, and it's taking time away from their families and what they've got going on in their life. So hopefully you can set a precedence, you do it and get them to do it at the same time, because we all have different things going on. So if you're a senior, you've got your health kind of against you. You've got time is kind of against you in that respect. When you're a younger adult with maybe small children, you've got their lives in the balance, the children, because if something should happen to the parents, things happen all the time, they need to have a guardian. They need to know that somebody is going to step up and take care of them, just like their parents would have, that they're not going to go into a foster care, go into some sort of horrible situation or get the siblings split up, or whatever happens to these kids is horrific after the fact that they've lost like their parents. So one of my my coworker I was talking to said that his sister and her husband were killed in a car accident and left 3 young children. They had nothing. They had no life insurance. They had no guardians listed. They had nothing. And he didn't go into the next part of the details, but I'm like, wow, really, it can happen. And so any of you that are listening that are sort of like waiting another day, it's like, you don't really know which day it's going to be. It's like playing Russian roulette with your kids' lives. Seriously.
You do not want to put off to tomorrow what you can do today that will benefit and make the lives of those left behind much better. I always say when my dad said, hey, when I go, I don't need to get rid of anything, because when I go, I'm having a U-Haul come in and load everything out, and it's going to be buried with me. Well, it was a joke. And we joked about it all the time. How many burial plots do we have to buy to get that U-Haul of all your stuff buried with you? And it was a joke, but it wasn't. When he passed, he just had all that stuff because they never wanted to deal with it. And it's just so important. It is so important to your family members that are left. Yeah. And I never like to talk about doom and gloom. I thought it's all about fun and living and having and making the best of the rest. And so for me to talk on the aspects of wills and testimonies, I usually give that to the professionals. I'll bring those in to educate. So I am glad you are on this mission to educate those people that no matter what their age, they've got to get things in order and in line in some space or confined location that others can find it, that need access to it if there is some urgency or emergency that happens. So bless you for getting that together, because more people than not need that information. And that's part of what I do, is educate. As a realtor, it's all about location. But with my seniors, we got to educate, and then we'll locate. So
that's right. That's right.
It's just a great time in life now to sit still, listen to some experts, and do what has to be done without dreading having to do it, because somebody else is going to get that task and it's not going to be pretty.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole thing about planning in advance. It's when you're doing it, you don't really see the joy that you're creating on the other side. But I appreciate what my mom did. We didn't have any kind of mess. We had everything handled and buttoned up. I think it was 6 months, and the first 3 months we didn't do anything really. So, and there were really no quabbles amongst siblings or anything. So that's really my goal, is to get people to move, make action. And so in my own experience, I've purchased a lot of workbooks, and because I wanted to get this done for myself, right? I had an illness in 2018, and I'm like, as organized as I am and as put together as everybody thinks I am, it's like the pretty girl never gets invited to the dance. If something happens to me in the big picture, who knows how to get into my bank? Who knows which bills need to be paid? Who knows like you were talking, your social media logins and all that. So what I decided needed to happen was a course. You take a course, you go lesson by lesson. Each module has so many lessons, and you go through it systematically, a little bit at a time, so you're not overwhelmed. But by golly, at the end of the course, you have this document, this box. It's basically emergency info file, and now you're good to go. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. So anybody that wants to get on the wait list, because it is coming out soon, and maybe by the time this is actually airing, it'll actually be out. But there's a wait list and or a purchase page on my website. So it's gotittogethernow.com, gotittogethernow.com. And you'll see it right on there. And then I also encourage you to just check back through there. And there's a free offer at the bottom of the page. So just kind of want to do a little teaser there. Go to the bottom of the page. Did you have something, Teresa, that you wanted to offer to this audience? We really didn't talk about it, but if you do, great. If not, that's
well,
fine
you
too.
know, I do have something for you for sure. Is you? I have a senior resource library. So I would love to have you be a member on that library so that people can access you. If anyone wants to text the word SMART, SMART, do you mind if I give this number?
No, go ahead. Yep.
To 602-456-1976. It is a resource library for seniors, and I'm bringing on brands, entrepreneurs, and people who service or provide counsel, consultation, or products for seniors to be members on that. And they can promote what they do and keep seniors involved in knowing who to reach out to, how to reach you. And that's just an ongoing thing for businesses, but it's great for the seniors, because in the senior world or realm, I have discovered that the information is a little disjointed, and it's important to get it into one space. So I would love to have your course and your information on that library so that people can reach out and go, hey, I can say, hey, call her. Here's the link to this, and get everybody educated. If you can't plan in advance, we plan for the weekend, we plan for dinner, we plan for a wedding, but nobody plans for that next chapter in life, no matter what age you are, but especially as seniors, that next chapter in life. And the plan is an acronym to me. It's P is prepare in advance, and A is acknowledge your safety concern, or L is let everyone know what you want, because if your family knows what you want in the next 10, 20, 30 years, they'll help you get it. And A is acknowledge your safety concerns. If you need to be out of a big, large, high maintenance home into a smaller, more manageable space, do it. And N is just never give up your youthful heart and mind. We can act and think young as long as we want. And I encourage people to do that. But what you offer and what can be helpful to the seniors is phenomenal. So I do have a book on Amazon. If anybody is interested in that, they can go to Amazon. It's Smart Living for Seniors, How to Make the Best of the Rest. And if they want to text that number, SMART, text SMART to that number I gave you, I'm happy to send them a checklist of things to do for sorting and how to get started so you're not paralyzed in the process.
That's excellent. We'll list that too in the show notes so people can go and see that if they're driving or something and can't write that down. But I certainly appreciate you coming on to me. So this has been excellent. I know it's been a long time coming. I met you a little while ago, and I'm like, I got to get her on the podcast, because what you do is so amazing. Getting resources together is so important for people, because especially seniors, they get to know, like, and trust you, but they don't really know, like, and trust anybody else. So you can't be everything to them. So it's good if you have some people that you vetted and they're good guys and good gals that are going to treat your seniors the way they need.
Stacy, I'm sorry to interrupt. It used to take a village to raise us, and now it takes a team, and it's a team of experts. It's the elder law attorneys, it's financial and wealth planners, managers, it's caregivers, it's realtors, it's mortgage people. Maybe you need reverse mortgage, reverse purchase. And it's people like yourself that are putting together helpful information that it takes the team.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
does. So thank you for what you do as well. And thanks for the invitation today.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we'll just leave it at that. And so everybody, hope you got something great out of this. I think you did. You probably got more than one or two or three things, because we talked about a lot of things that are really valuable. And if you have any people in your life that you think, wow, I wish they heard that, send them the link. You can always get it on the website, legacytherapypodcast.com. All of the episodes are listed there, or you can go to anywhere where you can get podcasts, Spotify, and actually I'm even on iHeartRadio now. I'm on quite a bit. I'm on a lot of different outlets, distributors. So pass the word along, and it'll just make your life easier, especially if this is for your parents or your siblings or whatever it is that you might be left holding the bag. You'll appreciate this if this can get done and make it a family affair. So I'm signing off for this episode. I'm Stacy Golden-Lisnock, and your financial advocate. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Legacy Therapy Podcast. If we hit it out of the park today and you learned at least one new thing to take action on in your own quest to planning the best legacy possible, then be sure to tell your friends, subscribe, and rate and review wherever you get your podcast. The show notes will provide the sites and information that were discussed today. You can get more great tips, resources, and inspiration by visiting our website, legacytherapypodcast.com.